Thanks for staying with us. Let us properly introduce our guest. Alan Kainde Aragbaye, known as Mr. TG, is a dynamic speaker, founder, and author of the thought-provoking book, Transition Game, How Basketball Culture Has Failed the 99%. Now, a former Colgate athlete, Alan is passionate about helping athletes navigate life beyond sports. Born and raised in Southern California, Allen developed a deep love for basketball at a very young age. His athletic journey led him to play at both Division One and Division Two levels, where he experienced firsthand the challenges athletes face on and off the court. After completing his basketball career, Allen earned a degree in media and communications, which provided him the tool to effectively share his experience and insights. So, having witnessed many of his basketball peers struggle to transition to life after sports, Allen recognized the lack of resources dedicated to preparing athletes for success beyond their playing days. Now, this realization inspired him to create Transition G, a personal development firm focused on equipping athletes with the tool, mindset, and strategies needed to thrive in their post-sports career. Through his book and the Transition G curriculum, Allen has impacted athletes across high schools and colleges nationwide, and his mission is to challenge the traditional sport culture, empowering athletes to unlock their potential both on and off the court. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again, my guest and my co-anchor for the day. Hello. I love this book. First of all, Uti, you're missing because I'm going to get an autograph book that you do not have. So, hey, sorry. I love this book.
I'm missing. The book is present in the studio. The author is present in the studio. My name is Uti. Can you please sign it? Thank you.
Got a copy for her.
He actually bought a copy for you.
Thank you. So please, just sign it, to me.
So I really love this book, and I just read just the first page, and I was already captured by the idea of, people taking that deep pause to think. And this is something that I would make that bold statement that it's not unique to basketball. Mm-hmm. Is generally sports, right? Generally sports.
Yep.
You see a lot of athletes, they are doing so well. In fact, it's worse off in Nigeria, where you see great athletes, and you can't. I mean, I was listening to an interview, interestingly, with the former Super Eagles player, Sunday Olise, and he was talking about that period of when you no longer play, nothing prepares you for that season. That a lot of athletes, because again, they were in their booming days, making a lot of money, nobody was really planning, So, I mean, it is really tough, and especially if you do not now have certain kinds of careers to move into, because some are able to transition into sports and sport media. So they are analyzing sports and all of this. So they still have some decent, pay coming in at the end of the month. Yeah. So what inspired this book? I mean, you are an athlete. You've played basketball, at professional levels, right? So what inspired you to write this book?
Absolutely. So I played basketball for 18 years. I started playing at age 8, and my career went through about age 25. So for 18, 17 years, my whole goal was to make it to the NBA. And, sports in general, it's not just basketball. When you dedicate that much time, sacrifice, not having a social life, you have big dreams to play professionally and make money and take care of your family. You put your mind, your body, your spirit into that effort because it really does require that much energy in order to make it. And so for me, playing through 25, I never really considered that I wouldn't make it ever until it kind of just happened. And I was at this crossroads like, wow, I'm really not going to make it. What do I do next? And it's in that moment where it kind of hits you like, wow, I really didn't have a plan all this time. And so my company and my book is really an experience that I personally went through. And then I realized, like, if I'm going through this as an athlete, I was always a good student. I had both parents at home. I had all these qualities. If I'm going through this, then I know millions of others like me in basketball and other sports are also going through this.
And the funny thing about NBA, it's so tough getting into the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, literally, you can have like 10,000 players and maybe only 10.
Maybe one.
Right?
Yes.
Even one.
Yes.
And what are the odds that
Yeah.
you will be picked?
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't really think about this thing.
Correct.
Uti, did you have dreams for basketball?
Yeah.
She's tall too, like you.
So I mean, I played basketball in secondary school all through. We didn't have a lot of girls that played basketball, so I actually played with the boys, and they're much older than me because I've literally been this height since I was about 10, 11. So I got pretty tall pretty quickly. I mean, you have those dreams, right? I don't know that a lot of our Nigerian youth, I think what is most prominent here is obviously football, right? But I mean, any sport in general has the capacity. I mean, before we even talk about economic growth, sport as an endeavor is great for all children, all young people, because it teaches discipline, it teaches dedication, it teaches perseverance, it teaches you so many life skills, right? So let's even, before we even get to the path where we talk about economic growth or we talk about the 1% of the 1% that makes it into the big leagues, into the pro leagues, I mean, we have Nigerian footballers who have become global names who have gone to play football, in the, what is it called now, the Premier League, in the Euros, all of these other, La Liga and all of that. So we already know today that football is an export. Right? But there's so many other sports. So like basketball, I don't know that basketball is so big in Nigeria, right? Yes, we do have, I mean, if you look at from the sort of governance side of things, we have a Ministry of Sports and we have all these other, leagues and things. But I think really if we're talking about what we export here in Nigeria, it's predominantly football. Most of the other sports we see maybe only at the Olympics, we start to see that, we do have people in there. So I think in Nigeria, it's football and it's track and field.
Yeah.
I think those are the two places where we can really say that Nigeria plays in the sports world. But it does have a lot of opportunities. In fact, I would say, given the demography of our population, that is the one thing that we're really missing out on. So when we talk about youth and economic growth, we've talked on the show so many times about education and the impact of education. But the reality of it is, let's think about how the absence of sports and sports programs and curriculum to develop sports. I mean, yes, there are a few private football academies and sports academies now, but that's only in Lagos. I don't know what is existent in other parts of the country. But if you think about what countries like Ethiopia and Eastern African countries have done with long distance running, think about all the other sports that we could invest in and really start to see our young people thrive.
Absolutely.
It was so funny that I didn't even realize that this was the topic that we were going to be discussing today when I chose my what's in the news for today. And if you think, in fact, when I saw the story, you know why it caught my attention? Because I thought to myself, it's happening again. The headline was the former Vice President Atiku, who was vowing to support the 17-year-old Nigerian Ugo Ugochukwu. I didn't even realize he was Oluchi's son. And then I remember I said, why does Oluchi have a 17-year-old son? But I digress, But we are always super proud when Nigerians do things. But we don't support them to get there.
At all.
So when you think about the emotions of this world, when you think about all the young Nigerians who are still flying the flag and wearing our colors in professional sports, how many of them are actually today still being supported by Nigeria? Or how many of them can say that foundationally from day one, I started my journey in Nigeria and I didn't have to go abroad? There's probably so few.
Okay, absolutely. I mean, you're really spot on, because when I saw that news, I say, yeah, right. Do you know the years of investment and the amount of money? Yes, Formula One sport is not cheap.
F2, it's not cheap.
Formula One sport is not cheap. So the former vice president just wakes up because the boy now has a championship to his name.
As
you now wake up and say you say you want to mentor what?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. But I mean, I love what you said about the, that support structure, which is why you are even here in Nigeria. Because again, I mean, like Uti rightly hit the nail on the head when she talked about different sports.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people that were really, I mean, I saw a friend of mine, her brother is 6'7" now or 6'8"? By the time he got to the US, he left at 18. By the time he got to the US, he couldn't even play basketball. So he ended up, now he's in the American soccer. That's what he plays now in the US. Because, I mean, at that age, it's already too late.
It's late.
You're competing with people that started at age 5, age 4, right? So basketball, we have a lot of potential basketballers here in Nigeria, but we do not have a proper structure that helps, to harness the potential that we have. I mean, the female team, they did exceptionally well at the last Olympics. They did exceptionally well. So how do we start to tap into these opportunities that are within the basketball sports in Nigeria?
100%. Phenomenal question. So let me tell you guys a little bit about what's going on in the U.S. right now. Nigerian Americans, so first generation Nigerians, are dominating basketball right now. We have a lot
Giannis.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bam Adebayo, Josh Okogie, many others. They're first generation, right? So they're not far removed from their parents being here. And then the other thing is the NBA itself is investing a lot of money in the continent of Africa and particularly Nigeria because they see the game is going global, and they also see that there's a lot of Africans who are beginning to learn the game and eventually come over and dominate in the NBA. And so there's a lot of investment happening right here in Africa in real time. They have the Basketball African League, they have the NBA Africa. And so the other thing that I think is critically important about this time and the opportunities ahead is there's something very interesting happening in college sports in America. It's called NIL, name, image, likeness. And when I was coming up, you couldn't get paid in college. The most you get is a scholarship, and then you get your education, and that's it. Now, college players are getting paid, and they're getting paid well. 6 figures, 7 figures in some cases, USD. And so I'm sitting back and I'm thinking to myself, we talked a little bit about the odds of making it to the NBA, 0.0001%. I understand that. But making it to college, you can do that. If you have the right development and right infrastructure, you can make it to college. That's a possible, probable thing for you to do. And my thing is now college is now becoming professional sports in the sense that they can get paid now. And so I think the time I think it's the most opportune time to come back to Nigeria in particular. I'm obviously, my parents are from here. I want to give back in the way I know how. And so one of the reasons why I'm out here is to help facilitate building an academy in Ondo State, which is where my parents are from. I've had a chance to talk to some reputable people in that area, and I think I'll have the backing in order to do it. And so I think now is the time for sure.
Awesome. Because it's just interesting how, my son plays basketball. He's always excited going to the court, but, he just does it as just a hobby.
Exactly.
But I imagine if there were real opportunities, real academies where they could learn. I've seen a few, but it is still not there. Because, I mean, like what Uti was talking about, football is everywhere.
Exactly.
At some point, because my sister's children, they play football, and they're in Canada now, and they're doing so well in football. I mean, at some point, Barcelona came and set up a Barcelona team. And I think one of the other big leagues, they also came and they set up here. But you don't have those, So no. It's interesting hearing you say that NBA is actually looking at Nigeria. That means that's some good opportunity there.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, it's happening. The investment has been recent. This is the last 5 or 6 years. So I would say in the next 5 to 10 years, you'll begin to really see the impact of all the investments happening across the continent.
Awesome. So let's take a quick break. I know Uti is itching to ask a question. We'll come back and we'll take Uti's question. Stay with us. All right. It's our ladies' night out, but tonight we have a gentleman talking of basketball as a pathway to youth development and economic growth. And he is Allen Kehinde Aragbaye. He's still here with us, live in studio. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-8663. You can also call our phone lines, right? The numbers to call 07025007749 or 07014242420. Those are the numbers to call. When you call, please ensure you turn down the volume of whatever device it is that you're watching us from. So, Uti, over to D.
I mean, I think that I first of all just want to start by saying thank you to Alan, because I think that a lot more people need to figure out what your talent and skill is and use that in whatever way you can to give back to Nigeria. So thank you so much for coming back. I know some people will say, but he's going to make money in the process. Yes, he will not starve, but at least he's here. um, you're already a star in my book. Now, I mean, I like when you talked about where college basketball is going, because in fact, well, not maybe like you probably know already, but I only just found out in the last couple of months that the NBA was in Nigeria. And of course, this is really now trying to sort of create a foothold in Nigeria, just the way, we all got into, the Premier League and football, and we're watching all these other leagues. It's great that the NBA is now realizing that there's a market in Africa for those games as well. And the fact is that as the awareness grows, then the opportunities also start to grow. So it's nice to hear that that's being complemented by sort of all the first generation players who are playing today in the NBA. So hopefully we're going to see more NBA sort of led academies popping up and all. But what I want to ask is, given that you started playing basketball at 8, parents who are watching the show today who may not have the formal structure, who may not have an academy near them, what kinds of things can they start to do? What can they start to expose their children to? So I'm even thinking things as basic as how to start to help them with hand-eye coordination. But maybe just share a bit of your story about the skills you started to work on when you were 8, that led you down the path that allowed you to play basketball for about 17 years.
That's a great question. Honestly, I think it's simple. My father's a Nigerian, so actually my first sport was soccer, football, right? American soccer. And I played that from age 5 to 7. And then once I found basketball, that was pretty much it. But I was a natural at basketball in large part because my soccer background. And soccer, the footwork, the stamina, the cardio, all of those things are very translatable to the game of basketball. So if I'm a parent, I would just start with what you have available to you. If football is readily available, or if you have a football at home, or if that's what your kids are into, I think to be athletic in some sport is better than to not be athletic at all. And in the meantime, people like me and the NBA are coming and trying to do our best to set these academies and facilities up so that they'll now have exposure to basketball as well. So, yeah.
So basketball is not particularly a cheap sport, right?
It depends.
Well, it's cheap. But you can just get a court and that's it.
Yeah.
You just need to dedicate your time.
Exactly.
So how do you hope the academy will run in Ondo State? Is that why it is important for the state government to also partner with you? Because again, we need to be able to give it to people that, I mean, if you listen to Yanni's story, oh my God, that documentary on Netflix was in fact, I cried.
Yeah.
I was crying.
Yeah.
I cried. I thought, it was such an inspiring story, hearing how he was really coming from poverty, you know, and how basketball completely transformed his life, right? So how do we start to build those kinds of grass to grace stories, and then bring in the people, because again, that's one part. Secondly, we're malnourished in this country.
Yeah.
We're malnourished.
Yeah.
And I know that it takes a special kind of diet. Because I remember when Yannis moved to, what was the state again? When he moved, starts with an M. So when he moved to his state, they had to put him on a special diet. To be able to get him to build, to bulk up and all of those things, to be able to get there. Food, we're battling food insecurity in Nigeria, right? So beyond even the sports, right? How would the academy cater to those other things that is required for the success of the athletes?
Yeah. So there's a blueprint and there's a template for how this runs. And luckily, even in the States, from the age of 16 to 18, I myself was actually a part of an academy of sorts. We call it prep school in the U.S., where we live on campus. Everything is specified to the basketball player and cultivating everything from physical fitness to nutrition to recovery, everything. So the academy, when we get it up and running, it'll function like that. We'll house them, we'll feed them, exactly. So there's a way for us to do it. I think the bigger thing for me is having the right investment to have basketball courts and basketballs readily everywhere. Like that. Listen, in America, one of the things that Black Americans are attracted to the game of basketball for
Everywhere,
is
every neighborhood.
courts are everywhere. Courts are everywhere. Basketballs are everywhere. You don't really need much. Basketball shoes, not even basketball shoes. Shoes, a ball on a court. Go out there and play. You'll begin to develop a skill set. And if you get good enough, that's when we'll be able to say, okay, that person has a lot of talent.
Potential.
Come on to the academy. Let's maximize your ability. So it would work something like that without giving out too much, but that's a great question.
Interesting. Uti.
So yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in the pipeline. So you just sort of talked about it, because I was sort of going to say, well, if I hear that a basketball academy is coming, so imagine I was a mom in Ondo right now, I'm thinking, what's that going to look like? How are you going to find my son? How, so what will sort of be the process for accepting people into the academy? Just to give some insights, you have to start to drop those teasers so that on day one, you have people at your door.
You know what? I like you because a lot of this is top secret stuff. I don't know if I should share it. I'm just kidding. But no, to be honest with you, we're going to go across the state and I'll have listen, U.S. is the template when it comes to basketball and the blueprint. So I'll be partnering with some coaches local where I am and we'll bring them out here and they have a phenomenal eye for talent as well as myself. And we're going to go across the state, and it may even be other nearby states as well. It'll be open, and we'll just probably have tryouts of some sorts and just try to identify what the talent levels are. And then from there, begin to hand select which ones we think will be a good fit for the academy. It's only going to start off as a pilot, so we're not going to take a whole bunch of players to start, but I think anything to kind of get the ball rolling, I think would be a benefit for sure.
I really want this to work because I know how frustrated my son gets when the school refuses to fix the basketball court. Like he's so upset. But why can't they just not fix that? I think it gives them joy in the sport. So let's touch a little bit about the idea about this intro on the book that you wrote, where you touched on intellect, right? Because again, that is one of the fears that a lot of Nigerian parents always fear. I have very intellectually sound children. So most times I still struggle when they say they want to play sports. I'm still thinking, we are still thinking in our brain that no.
Yes.
Because there's just that idea that athletes are not they don't need to be academically sound and all of those things. But you touched a little bit on that aspect in your book. So can you just shed more light on it?
Yeah, I can tell you. Listen, I'm Nigerian American. Both of my parents are from here, so that understanding of the standard of academia is that never was something that I can compromise on. And so I think part of why I'm excited that I'm the one one of the people who are coming back is because I understand that line of thinking because my parents are exactly the same way. And I can tell you that while I played, my grades were always up. So that's something that my parents would not compromise on. So we can walk and chew gum. We can really do this in a way where you're able to go as far as possible in the game of basketball and maintain your academics. And again, I'm talking about the NIL and what's going on in college. Part of what we're doing is going to be sending kids to colleges to get their degree, make sure in some cases, their master's, if they can do it in 5 years. So think about that, playing in college, making money, getting your degree, and being able to help your folks back home. So for me, it's a win-win-win.
Awesome. Uti, you want to add something on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just excited for what the opportunities will be. I think that pipeline is so important to be able to create those opportunities for people to get into sports. And we already know that we are slam dunk when it comes to academia. So that opportunity to bring people in to not only give them a good education, but give them the opportunity to set themselves up for life. And the truth is, we're talking about what first generation Americans are doing now. Think about if you add, would I call them immigrant Nigerians to that, who know what they just left behind. And we can funnel some of this basketball money back into developing that pipeline, because I think that's one of the places where we struggle. If you look at the way sports is set up in the States, every type of sport has its little leagues, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, everything, even soccer that has just gone, big leagues with, what is it called now? Is it NBL? What's the soccer league called? I forget. But even that, you're starting to see more little leagues for soccer come out. I mean, soccer used to be predominantly girls that used to play soccer in America, but now you're sort of seeing that the commercial side of it often brings that pipeline. So we also now need to be able to create this pipeline. And it's great that they don't just get a scholarship out of it and get an education out of it, but they're actually making money. So it fits into everything that is important to Nigeria.
It ticks all the boxes, my darling.
Yeah.
And might I add, Uti, might I add that it is FX you are earning. You're not earning.
Indeed. And you know that
I wish I can go and play basketball right now.
I'm telling you. And once it makes good economic sense for Nigerians, we already have stamina. We already have plenty of young people. So the pipeline will just be like water is just flowing through the tunnel. So I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. So I wanted to also touch a bit on that life post your basketball career, because I think that we started to see that sort of diversification. At one point, most of the stars were, you get the few who would go into like coaching, and then a few who would go to the media sort of entertainment side of it. But I think it probably, for me, paying attention, probably in the last sort of 10, 15 years, athletes started to get a bit more savvy about how they were managing their money. They were diversifying into different investments. They're opening restaurants, clothing brands. I mean, right down to water, they were selling everything. So just, I guess for me, it's like maybe trying to see the future to say, look, guys, if you're going to come into this sport, the lifespan of an athlete is pretty short. If you're getting an education and building a career, that's like a whole lifetime. That's till like you're 50, 60, retire or whatever it is. But the lifespan for sports is pretty short. So what are the sort of complementary skills that you should be looking to develop in the same way that you're developing your physical capabilities to do sports and try?
I love that. That's a great question. And to be honest with you, I wish you were in studio because I brought this book for you. And the answers to your questions are in here. But to be honest with you, that's why, again, so my passion and the area that I believe is my purpose is that transition phase of things, right? So I played basketball for 18 years. Others are doing the same thing. They retire, and it's like, what's next? That's where I come in, and I try to partner with them, or our company partners with them as early on in the process as possible, because I believe it's never too early to begin that process of figuring out what your transition looks like. So for me, even coming back here and developing this academy, throughout the process, they'll be getting our Transition G curriculum, which is based on four cornerstones, which I call the FIRM model, and it stands for financial literacy, early development, which is leadership development, replacing your passions, and mental health. Those are the 4 pillars that I believe are sort of like your default. If you kind of understand each of these, you'll be okay, irregardless of kind of what industry or what you decide to do with your life following your sport. And so for me to be able to build this with all those different verticals, it's a total holistic way to do this. Developing them on the court, making sure that they have the right education to be able to go to college, but then also finishing all of that off with making sure that they have what they need to transition effectively as well. So, yeah.
Great. So I think what you should do is, let me put on my my ideas hat for you.
Okay.
You should take this, right? So you're developing the basketball academy. That's great stuff. You have lots of football players in Nigeria. You have Nigerian football.
I already told you. I said the market is huge.
You should take firm. And you should take it round and you should teach these people what they need to do. Because, again, a lot of them are so talented, they're so skilled, but they probably, you're not going to get 100% of them, going out of Nigeria to play football elsewhere. So that's like a parallel subsidiary company that you want to be
I even think, Uti, beyond even sports, even the entertainment industry.
Yes.
Right? All the big names that you're saying now, there's a lot of mismanagement going on. You get, I don't know what the plans are, but you see these guys, all of a sudden there's a rise to fame. I mean, just yesterday I was having a conversation with my team. I think, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday was Monday, I was saying to them, go and check all these people that rose to fame, these one-hit wonders. the Jumoke Onibredi, all those people. There was so even if your fame is for a second, right? If you have the right people and the right tool around you, you can milk that and
Yes.
you can
leverage it
build,
for a lifetime.
Yes.
you can leverage it for a lifetime and you'll be self-sustained. You don't
Yes.
have to go back, I mean, to grass, right? Which is what you see all the time. So people don't just know how to manage that
Yes.
fame.
Yes.
They don't know how to manage the popularity.
Correct.
You know, not many people think
Yeah,
beyond
beyond. Yeah, yes.
what is going on.
Absolutely.
I mean, you had a wake-up call
Yeah.
at 25. You saw that this thing, I don't think I'm going to be drafted. So let me,
Let me figure something out.
but thank God you were brilliant enough
Amen.
to go to school, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is the stark reality.
Yeah.
It is just there in the faces of a lot of people. So Uti, beyond football, entertainment,
I
like
agree with the fact, as you said it now, I was like, ding, 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 ding.
yes, so
We have business opportunity.
business opportunity. I want to be
give me a
his business
call.
partner in Nigeria.
Yeah,
Uti,
let's talk,
you and
let's talk
I.
after this show.
But I hear we have Loma on the line. Good evening, Loma.
Noah
Hi.
and Sister Oti.
How are you?
We are very, very, very fine. Good evening, our brother.
Yeah, he's saying good evening.
Oh, good evening.
See, I want to ask a question. Our guy on the studio, are you trying to tell us that basketball is now better than football? Or basketball now gives more money than football? That basketball will make our economy that is going down drain to come back to life than football. You know, a lot of people follow after football than basketball. So with the way you are talking now, are you trying to tell us you put in new things in basketball to make it more attractive than football?
Okay.
That's the question for you.
Okay, so I will interpret the question.
okay.
So he's asking, are you telling us
Uh-huh.
that basketball is more lucrative?
Okay.
It pays more money than football.
Okay.
Basketball is more it will change the economic situation of Nigeria.
I am not saying that. Just so we're clear, I'm not saying that. I just think we can walk and chew gum. So football is not going anywhere. We all understand that that's the most prevalent sport in the world, to
Yeah,
be
in the
honest.
world, yeah.
But I want to say this on record: basketball is the fastest growing sport in Africa. So it's not about it being, this or that, or football over basketball. It's just another opportunity.
And guess what? It's even a bigger opportunity for us because we do not even have, I mean, it's not as saturated
Yes.
as football.
Yes.
So if truly you have a talented child, now would be the best time
Yes.
to start looking out for people like you to say, you know
Exactly.
what, how do I get my child to become a professional player?
Absolutely.
And now, I mean, what you said is the one that is
Yeah.
sweeting me because my son had told me that he wants to play in college when he gets to college.
Okay.
So now I'm going to tell him, hello. Are you aware
Yes.
that there's something called NIL?
NIL, yes.
I've written it down.
Yeah.
I won't forget.
I love that.
Are you aware there's something called NIL?
Yes.
So if you want to play,
Yes.
as long as your grades are not dropping,
Exactly.
please, by all means, but ask for your NIL.
Yep. There you go.
But is it an automatic thing, or is it only in the US, or there are other countries? you
Yeah.
know?
So this is a U.S. based sort of initiative.
Yeah.
And again, everyone doesn't get paid the same. It all depends on what school you
doesn't
go
matter.
to. It doesn't matter.
No matter-
It doesn't matter.
Hard currency is hard currency.
Thank you. You got it. I like her.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if you had one final thing to say,
Yeah.
because we were having fun and the
I
time,
know. Yeah.
so if you had one final thing to say, what would you say to everyone?
You know what? I would just say, and you both made great points. This transition game concept is a much larger concept than just basketball. I was told that if you want to change the world, you start with what you know best. And so I'm only doing this from a basketball lens because basketball is the game
It's
that
what you
I
know.
played. Yeah, but believe me, this is football, entertainment, even corporate jobs. People have similar things like this. So the solutions here are not just for basketball, just for the record. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Uti, you have a final thoughts?
No, I mean, as he was talking, I was just like, hello, man in the mirror. But no. I think the conversation today, I think the main thing that I take away from it is it just highlights the fact that there are opportunities, and the more people who choose to see that there are opportunities in Nigeria and choose to put their skills and their abilities towards that, there is nobody going to save Nigeria other than we Nigerians. And everything that we sow back into this country has the opportunity to be impactful, because the one thing that is our strength is our people. We have a youthful population and we have a lot of us.
Yes.
So the more pipelines, the more opportunities that we can create, the better it's going to be for the economy. So wishing the basketball sport success in Nigeria, because my child, he's gonna play basketball. Because I know if I say this now, they're gonna come for me, but I'm not really a football fan,
Yeah.
So I really am.
My darling, some of us are not. Some of us are not built for football.
I was pure tennis before. I was pure tennis before, and they said tennis was elitist, and I agree. Tennis is expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Basketball is cheap, honestly.
It's cheap.
Whenever my sons are home,
Yeah.
they just go to the court
That's it.
nearby and they have fun.
Yes.
So now that I know there's
Yeah.
NIL,
See?
Oh, if you grew up when we were kids, people used to use paint buckets.
yes, yes.
They used to nail it to a board and use it as the hoop.
Yep.
So it don't get easier than that.
I'm
Exactly.
telling you. So I mean, I'm really looking forward to this, and please feel free to always stop by every single time you come. We would also want to be part of, the journey, whatever publicity that is required, to just shed more light. And I really wish it can go beyond Ondo State.
Yeah.
You
No, it
understand?
will. It
Please,
will.
because some of us cannot go to
Yeah,
Ondo.
yeah.
We're in Lagos. But thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
We had so much fun. Who knew basketball was going to be fun?
Yep.
And transition game, honestly, it is beyond basketball. From the first line of this book that I read, where can we find it? Amazon?
It's on Amazon. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So transition game, just look for it on Amazon.
Yep.
Because if you really are in your
Well,
prime,
please collect my signed copy. Thank you.
Okay.
no. So Uti, if you're really in your prime, right? I feel like you need to read this book so you know how to prep. Because there will always be a downtime. There will always be a downtime.
Absolutely.
All right, so
Absolutely.
before we go, ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a lovely day.